listening to the Deep Purple Podcast, a fan podcast about one of the most legendary bands of all time, Deep Purple. We take a look at the music, history, and people behind the band Deep Purple and beyond. Welcome to the Deep Purple Podcast, the first and only podcast devoted to one of the greatest bands in rock history, Deep Purple. Today's episode is episode number 262, album ranking, Book of Taliesyn. And coming to you from the shadows of the eclipse here in the suburbs of Chicago, I'm your host, Nathan Beaudry.
Ooh. And coming to you from the suburbs of Providence, I'm your co-host, John, with Lakuchi Matola.
With Lakuchi? Is that one word or two words?
One big old word.
With Lakuchi.
I could be saying.
Can you hear this right now?
That's your son with the drum, right?
Yeah. He says, "Oh yeah, I'm going to practice my bass drum, like directly, like outside of the door to the studio here. Perfect time. At all day to practice. This is the time he's seizing on. So anyway, with Lakuchi, what does that mean?
So we're in Florida.
Oh, okay.
The only state with two rivers with the same name, with Lakuchi.
Wait, two different rivers are both named with Lakuchi?
Yes. That
seems like a something that should be corrected.
I mean, I feel like it's a very Florida thing.
So
doesn't make any goddamn sense.
It's like driving around Boston. Is that on Washington Ave? No, it's on Washington Street. Well, did you take Washington Road to get there? It's like so confusing. But at least they changed the names of the streets. But
yeah,
how
have like
how does that work though? Like, how do you reference it if they have the same name?
I don't know. I mean,
it's not our problem, I guess.
Yeah, no, I got nothing to back it up, and I mean, I don't go to Florida except to see Deep Purple.
I have nothing to back it up. It might be a lie. Who knows?
Yeah, no, that's just what I have in my factoid sheet here for this week.
We're doing a live stream right now, so of course the Gardo is on it. So if you could pull up one of your Florida maps that I'm sure you have half a dozen of lying around, look it up and let us know. Let us know why there's two with Lakuchis, or if there's two with Lakuchis. Maybe when you got a name that good, you just have to use it again,
I guess.
All right. Well, we were in the path of the eclipse yesterday, so I got some terrible pictures, like everybody.
Yep.
One of them actually kind of looked like the Scarabus background, like what you have right now.
Oh yeah, actually, my parents sent me one. Pops actually took a couple of good pictures, and yeah, it definitely looked like the Scarabus album cover. Yeah, I didn't actually see it. I was home. I think like up here was like around like 316 or something. They said it was like peaking around here. So I didn't actually look because I didn't have the eclipse glasses, and I don't want to potentially damage my face.
More your eyes than your face.
My eyesight. Yeah, within my face. So I thought it was kind of cool though, because I was at home and it was weird because the outside had this kind of like this weird, kind of like dim light type thing going on. And then it just wasn't. So it was still interesting, even if I wasn't like outside going.
Yeah, I was kind of doing that the whole time with the glasses, of course.
Yeah. Was it cool with the glasses anyway?
Yeah, it was very cool. It came through here about 7 years ago. And I'd seen it then. I was at work that day, so we were all just outside, like.
But that was partial,
looking at it,
right?
Yeah, it was it was the same as this. It was like we were at like 95% or something, but they say basically like if you're anywhere outside of something like 98%, it's all kind of the same. But it was cool. It was really weird because it was a really warm day. I just walked the dog and I was sweating, and then as soon as the moon started coming in, it got very cold. Like it felt very cold. And then it moved on and it heated back up. So I mean, it makes sense if all the rays of the sun are getting black, but it's strange. If you didn't have the glasses and you looked up, you'd be like, I can't tell anything is going on. It just looks like the regular sun, but with the glasses on, you could see the moon moving over it, but just enough to leave that little bit coming out and basically light up the whole sky.
Right. And then you
But
go, my eyesight, and then it's
yeah.
no
And
good.
then I told my kids, you make sure you wear the glasses, because if you look at the eclipse, you better like it, because that's all you're gonna see for the rest of your life is that, and you're burned into your retinas. So it was pretty amazing. The Gardeau was in the path of totality, I believe. He posted a picture,
Mm.
very dark. You could barely tell it was him. You could just see his hat. And what I assumed was the woman related to him by marriage to the left, but it was a dark picture. It's pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
I saw a great video on Instagram, which is like the only eclipse I care about, and there was like a plain glazed donut, and then somebody was like just moved like a chocolate glazed donut over it in front of the camera.
Oh, the Bagford was in the path of totality as well. Unbelievable.
Hell yeah.
Guess we're the only fools that missed it. But anyway, it was pretty cool. They said it's not gonna cross the United States again until 2044. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully being retired.
2024. What is it? 2044?
2044, yeah. It looks
Jesus.
like you're writing it down. You just looked down. It looked like you were writing it down in your calendar.
Like, oh,
Sean, are you going to be available that day? No, I'm sorry. I got a doctor's appointment. I've rescheduled it already. I can't do it again.
I'm gonna be I'm gonna be 68. Oh my God.
Well, let's
Even
do it.
funnier is Pops is gonna be 98.
98. All right. Well, hopefully he's there with us.
Oh, which by the way, I like Scott's suggestion. Pop's drinking game. Take a shot every time he says, "What the hell is that?"
That is a good drinking game. Where do we have it here? Oh my God, I'm gonna murder him with that bass drum. I'm gonna like I gotta text him to stop. My God. Well, it's good that he's excited. He got the lead. He's the section lead for the parade band, so he's excited.
Hey, you know, let him have it.
It's only 2 hours a week he can't practice, and that's when he wants to practice. Okay, so folks, the Deep Purple podcast is 100% listener supported and ad free. So if you receive some value from our show, give us some value back, and then we'll return value. Like for our wonderful patrons right now that are on the live stream, you get live stream access when we do those shows. You get access to our patrons only Discord, where we have lots of great chats. You also have exclusive access to certain posts on Patreon. Then you have access to our ratings spreadsheet should you decide to frequent that. You can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts as well if you want to help people discover the show. And you can buy some merch at our Etsy store, become a patron on Patreon or on PayPal for as little as $1 a month. And you can donate at $DPPOD using Cash App or support us on Ko-fi. And speaking of support, that support went into building our new studio rig here, but also just bought tickets for the upcoming was it just announced this morning?
I feel like it was, because when I was at work and I saw when did I like finally text you? It was like 104 missed text messages, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, guys. It's like when I was about like half in, I was on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and I saw Deep Purple had announced.
There's 126
yeah, US tour dates, and I'm like, that's why my chat's blowing up.
Yeah, so everyone was coordinating and buying tickets because the pre-sale started. So I got in right at the pre-sale, and looking forward to it. They're going to be so I'll just announce it real quickly. They're going to be in Chicago on the 23rd of August. So I will be there at the least. Then they're doing a couple of Canadian dates. Then they're heading down to New Hampshire on the 28th of August, New Jersey on the 30th and the 31st, and then Bridgeport, Connecticut on the 3rd of September. Saratoga Springs. I have a friend in Saratoga Springs. Wonder if she'll let me crash on her couch.
Hey, I didn't look, but where in Canada are they going to be?
Toronto and Montreal.
Oh, Montreal. Okay.
Yeah, so I was kind of like, I was like, hey, Jen, do you want to go to see Deep Purple in Toronto and Montreal? She's like, no.
Even if it means going back to the motherland, she doesn't want to go.
Yeah, it's like, you don't want to go see your family in Toronto and Montreal. She's like, no, I want to do that. I just don't want to see Deep Purple.
I definitely take a little, I take a little jaunt to Montreal for sure.
Yeah, Gardo saying you could in the chat, he's saying you could reach out to Mooties and see if he has any.
Oh yeah, we could get an Airbnb for Mooties.
You got an in with your buddy there.
I love that. I love that. Like, I love Gardo. You just always like. I mean, nobody even knows. I don't even remember how to pronounce, like, write his name correctly. But I'm happy that we're all pronouncing it wrong. Like, because he writes it.
It's definitely not spelled the way
Matuz, because he deserves to never have his name pronounced right. That piece of shit. Okay.
Don't know what episode that was, but you'll have to go back to find John's rant about that. It's still fresh in some ways. All right, so speaking of our wonderful patrons, we want to take a moment to thank our amazing executive level patrons at the in memoriam tier, the wonderful late Gerald, Jerry, Kelly, and family. At the $25 uncommon man tier, we have Ovis Nakvi and Purple Maniac. At the 15 squid tier, we have none other than, oh, is this going to work properly? Oh, yeah, well, and none other than Alan. At the $10 good doctor tier, we have Dr. Mike Catan. At the turn it up to $11 tier, we have Clay Wambacher, Frank Thielgard Mortensen, Mikkel Steen, Will Porter, PhD PP, Michael Bagford. And at the $10 someone came tier, Ryan M, Jeff Bryce, Victor Campos, Better Call Saul Evans, Peter from Illinois. And at the Hughesoween by 2033 tier, Fielding Fowler. That scream at the end always gets me. Wow! It's, yeah, Zoom just cut you out because it couldn't deal with it. Didn't cut out Glenn though. Oh my goodness. So we'll say now that our upcoming rankings show, we're doing a rankings show today, obviously, and our next one will be the third album, the self-titled Deep Purple album. Get us your rankings by some point in July. We're going to be
plenty of time.
Yeah, plenty of time. July 21st, so plenty of time to get the rankings in on July 20th.
Yeah, as Nate and I ourselves got our rankings to each other like the day before the show.
Yeah, I was the last one to do it. I did it yesterday.
Like, Nate, here's my ranking. I said, Nate, here's my rankings yesterday. And you're like, oh shit, I still have to do mine.
I was so worried getting everybody else's rankings that I forgot. But yeah, this should be a fun one. It was a lot of fun last time, and unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties for the first episode as we were trying something new that we quickly abandoned. Then we also have, oh shoot, where are the upcoming shows? Oh, I didn't copy the ones over. Well, I'll get them for the next episode. But by the time this airs, I will have already seen Steve Vai and Joe Satriani. So I'll give you a report on that when I get back. And then there's a couple other shows, and I'm going to have to add this new Deep Purple. There's new Deep Purple shows for anyone that wants to meet up with me, John, and or other listeners of the show. So if you are, you know what, if you're a listener, just send in your thing. We'll start putting together a list. If any two Deep Purple podcast fans want to meet up, even if we're not there, let us know. We'll put together we'll start a database or a spreadsheet as to who's going to which shows in the US so that people can meet up.
Like that idea.
All right. Okay, so here we are. We're going to do a ranking of the album. So a quick little reminder of how it works. There's 7 tracks on this album. Basically, it goes from 1 to 7, 1 being your favorite song on the album, 7 being your least favorite. And then they get the inverse number of points. So if you ranked a song number 7, it gets 1 point, number 6 gets 2, 5 gets 3, and so on and so forth. And then we put together all of those rankings from all the listeners, put it up, and then tabulated it to see which songs are getting the going to be the best and which songs are going to be ranked last in this thing. Does that make sense? As I've explained the rules of the game show?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't math.
Yeah. So Yeah, well, I can't either. That's why I have Excel do it for me. So I'm looking at a colorful grid of all the numbers from 1 to 7 for every song. And then I collected a lot of different comments from the forum responses. So I'll go through and read people's responses on the individual songs. Some people put them, some people didn't. And if there's anyone in the chat that wants to chime in with theirs, I think everyone in the chat, I think everybody here ranked their songs. So here we go. All right, should we kick it off with the number 7 song, the last ranked song on the album?
Sure. I wonder what that is.
Nobody knows. All right, here it goes.
Number 7.
And number 7 comes River Deep Mountain High. It's a surprise to everybody. Yeah, pretty consistently ranked worst. Looking at the rankings now. So me and John didn't agree. We only agreed on 2 songs for the exact ranking.
Really?
And this one was one of them at 7th place.
Okay.
The highest ranking it got was number 3 from a few folks. But a lot of 7s and 6s and 5s across the board. Some quick little responses here. Where is it? River Deep, Mountain High. Michael Bagford says, River Deep, this song sucks in this form and the original version. The lyrics are creepy. I don't think ragdoll was ever used in a good song. Oh, the term ragdoll. Oh, okay. So that's
Aerosmith.
Yeah. Maybe including that. I don't know. I would assume that's a knock at Aerosmith because I can't think of many other songs that use the term ragdoll.
Yeah.
He says you proved my point, John.
Okay.
So
I liked Ragdoll by Aerosmith, but
Ragdoll. The Roback starts off like the 2001 theme. I hear the beginning of lazy organ riffs in this. I think Rod's vocals on this are really good. Then our friend Jasur says, I don't get it. So, Better Call Saul Evans, who I will say also wrote in to say this is it's being mispronounced. It should be Taliesyn. But Rod pronounces it Taliesyn, so I pronounce it Taliesyn. Although the Taliesyn I went to in Wisconsin last summer was pronounced Taliesyn. So I think technically that's the correct pronunciation. But for the purposes of this episode, we're going to call it Taliesyn, hopefully not drive Saul Evans crazy. Saul Evans says, good creative cover, but drags on at times. I would say most of the times. Kev Roberts says, I can't seem to make a reasoned judgment on this as the song is such a great song that it overrides any thoughts of judging it by someone else. Fair enough. So what else we got? Duncan Leask. Case here for AI to replace Rod here with Tina Turner. That would help. Piss poor choice of a song if the definitive has already been done. Robert Smith says you can see why they liked Vanilla Fudge. Stuart McCord, again, a good version, and Rod does a great job on vocals, although for me, weighing it at the 10 minutes, it does go on slightly too long, and overall, my least favorite track on here, I think. Zwapper says, another hidden gem. Once again, Rod starts to develop into what he would become eventually in Captain Beyond, a really good rock singer. Ivan Fjellbu says, no, worst on the album in my view.
No.
That's a good...
Just no.
Comment on this song, no.
That's mine.
Norman Weichelbaum says, why come up with a cover that can't beat Tina Turner's classic? Blackmore's Tights says, great song, too long. Sounds like a Jerry Seinfeld thing. Great song, too long. Raf Calf, who just joined the chat, says Rod shows some power. The Gardot, Rod sounds great, gets better as it moves along. Gotta love the gong ending.
Mm,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
we had a lot of rankings this time. Have Kev Roberts says, "Don't like this at all. The original is so iconic that I can't shake the feeling that this is a really lackluster in comparison." So that's some comments from some of the folks on this song. What are you thinking about this one, John?
That sucks.
No.
I mean, well, overall, I mean, we could get to it later. Overall, I told you when we were texting about it that this was a better listen than I thought it would be. I definitely thought that the songs sounded less creaky and dated. I mean, still dated, but I mean, better than the first album. Um, but I mean, this when I was listening to this, I'm just like, I mean, I've listened to all the Deep Purple albums for so many years, so it's like burned in my brain. But I
Mhm,
mean, just listening to this was just like such a slog. I'm just like, ugh. Especially like the beginning, like I mean, they take like what, like 4 or 5 minutes to get to the damn point, and the da-da, 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 it's like, all
yeah.
right, how does this even when I hear that kind of stuff, I'm thinking, how does it even make sense for this particular song? Like it's supposed to like be this like did somebody say like a Space Odyssey 2001 type of thing, like the gong, like very very
You should put
grandiose,
the sound effects over it.
that kind of thing. And then you get to River Deep Mountain High, which I mean, I gotta say, it's like it was interesting. It was cool to hear Rod singing kind of that a cappella or very sparse music under there, and he did the really low vocals. I mean,
Mhm.
I appreciate Rod's range um in the song, but just overall I don't know, it didn't work. And I mean, that's taking it into consideration too of like the whole album is like, I mean, I get they were trying to do popular covers. Um, a lot of bands were doing that at the time, but yeah, it just didn't work.
Roback said, "Asked to review." Hal said, "Sorry, Dave, I just can't do that."
Yeah, I wish. Yeah, but this
Um,
was not good. Not that
Not so
good.
good.
It was not so good. Like my
Yeah,
Czechoslovakian.
that the intro is like very standard Mark 1 where they just really hadn't quite figured out their formula yet. They did, they're repeating the formula from the first album in that they've got the cover of an American song, they've got the little classical intros to other covers. There's 4 covers on this. It's like, right?
Yeah.
Wait, 1, yeah, 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4, no, 3. I'm sorry, 3. But it's too much. Um, so yeah, it's almost 5 minutes, almost exactly 5 minutes until anything recognizable from the original comes up. And then Rod is doing that super like, "When I was a little girl, I had a rag doll." It's like he's so low in his register, it's like kind of like weird. And then it's like, "Da-da-ba, boom, boom, boom," and it picks up into like a more recognizable song. But I don't know why they started it so down tempo and so weird. And then
Yeah.
when the backing vocals come in, the reverb is like out of control how
Oh yeah.
reverby they are.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was like they were like in a bathroom in Grand Central Station or something.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah, it was a little too much. So yeah, that's River Deep Mountain High. Coming in
Mm,
number 7 with a total of, what was the total points it got? The thing here. The total points, 59 points. This one got, so not a lot, and we had a lot of reviews. But you know what? I think I have one more review here. I gotta make a phone call real quick. See if I'm hoping he picks up.
Hello?
Oh, hey, Nick. Uh, Nick Simper, thank you for answering. Can you tell us what you thought of River Deep Mountain High?
Yeah, at the time we made the album, that apart from Kentucky Woman, that was my favourite because we worked very, very hard on that, and I thought at the time, I haven't played it for years, so it's very difficult to comment on it now. At the time, I thought it was pretty good and kind of far out. I mean, it was a different take on it. It was a bit too long, no doubt about it, but I think it came off okay at the time. I can remember rehearsing it. We rehearsed in this room, which was next to a police station, and the police came round and said, "Look, you're so loud, we can't hear the messages on the police radios," and they made us turn down. Yeah, we certainly were loud, but yeah, it was of its time. I don't think it's something that would have been chosen a year or two later on. But I think we did a pretty good job on it. But, probably if I listen to it again, I might think it sounds a bit dated. I don't know. As you can tell, I haven't listened to this stuff for a long time, apart from the numbers I do with the Nasty Habits.
All right. Well, thank you, Nick. I'll let you go now. I'm sure you've got other things to do, but I might call you back. All right. So, well, I should mention that we did have a chance to talk to Nick Simper recently, and you'll be hearing that. Hey, oh, wait. So, so we will be releasing the full interview a few days after this episode comes out as a bonus episode. So these are clips from the interview we had with him where he's actually talking about the songs as we list them on the album. Now, that being said, after the interview, I emailed Rod, wishful thinking. I emailed Nikki and said, "Hey, would you mind listening to the album and ranking the songs?" So he said, "Sure." And I guess he sat down with the album. He says, "I have just listened to Taliesyn again after many years, and it was pleasantly surprised at how good Mark I sounds. I have made a list of tracks in order of preference, which may be useful for your episode, deliberately keeping it short and to the point." So his comments after re-listening, no, this is not an April Fool's joke, Gardo. We're a little late for that.
We did talk to Nick Simper.
He said, "Again, overambitious treatment, which we thought was the album's highlight at the time. Interesting and quirky, but a pretty good performance from everyone." So that's his take on that one. So, all right, and he ranked this one as number 4 on the album. So,
all right, so about halfway.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see where his other rankings come in. Which brings us to our next song.
Number 6.
And that is none other than Exposition, We Can Work It Out. So obviously, much like the last album when we ranked it, a lot of you've got these two completely almost separate parts jammed into one song. So you've got Exposition and then We Can Work It Out. So, John, maybe we'll start this one off. What was your take on Exposition, We Can Work It Out?
What did I rank it again?
Oh, yeah, good call. You ranked it number 4, and I ranked it number 5.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, I know that I ranked this kind of middle of the road. Yeah, I mean, I honestly thought that this was going to be the one that maybe I liked the least. And no, I'm sure that Nick did not listen to the Warhorse episode, guys.
No, but we talked to him a lot about Warhorse, so
I was nice. I didn't say anything. But yeah, I thought that this I mean, for their second Beatles cover, I thought that it was pretty good. I mean, I'm not a Beatles fan, but I thought they did a pretty good job with this one. This one seemed to like go over better with me.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I like how they handled the there's a part in there. I think it's the I don't it, not, it's after we can work it out. That's the chorus, right? But
Yep.
then what's that part at? Not is it the bridge? No, no,
Which one?
no, no.
Life is
Yeah,
very short. Yeah, it's like kind of
yeah,
that. Yep.
yeah. I like how Rod did that. It was like very like I like how they kind of did that. They just kind of did a little different spin on it. Um, I don't think they did anything like groundbreaking with it at the time, but they did their thing with it at the time. And I don't know. I found it, you know, pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I will say there was just there was just a comment on it about Richie's, like that's the thing that ruined it for me, as it did
yeah.
with like everything else. Is like Richie's like friggin' um guitar fills are just like horrendous through this entire album.
It's like,
Yeah, I'm glad that you reminded me of that, because they were just
yeah.
so dissonant and just terrible. It's like I don't know how, like yeah, I didn't mean to like, go back into it, but it's like I have to say it. I don't know how, like within like a year, Richie definitely got better as a guitar player, but don't ask me how, like he got through this to be able to prove himself, because he was a horrible guitar player. Uh,
I
like he
wouldn't go
was,
that far.
oh, it was bad. Like I'm listening to this and I'm like, this is like unlistenable. Like these things are just like he wasn't in tune, or he was just trying to do something that was like, I mean, don't even blame the first album for them being like, oh, they didn't have any time. They gave him 2 friggin' weeks for this album, and he was still like, it's like what?
It just sounded like he couldn't get his bends right, like his guitar. Like if you try, I probably said this in a previous episode, but if you try bending on an acoustic guitar the same way you bend on an electric, like you just can't get the note all the way to the next note, and it sounds like you're just like, yeah,
Well,
you're not making it all the way, so it sounds
I,
bad, and that's
I'm
what it
just
sounds like
saying
he's
the
doing on this one.
I'm just saying the Richie on the first two albums is not the Richie, like even on the third album.
Mhm.
On Deep Purple, self-titled, he definitely was more the style that we know him as. Like he definitely came into his own, but he was not developed at this time. Like I don't, like if you know what I mean? Like back then, if I had heard him, I would have been like, nope, not even giving him a chance. Like if like hire him, nope.
Yeah, but he was, I mean, at the time, he was regarded as one of the greats, so, I mean,
Well,
I
with this material, it was just not good. Like, I mean, I was hoping that it would be different, but I mean, I think that like his fills and his solos are just as bad on this album as it is on the first one.
I think it sounds very unrehearsed, and it's like, oh, if they had taken 5 more stabs at that song and he had come up with a really good like, a really good bend,
Yeah.
like, or a good fill, I should say, that it coulda worked, but he was just kinda, like, doing whatever. But, of course, he does almost a very similar thing almost every time, so it's a little jarring.
I will say that there are times in the album where he does do some like some melody lines where he doubles his guitar, which are actually pretty good.
Mhm.
And I mean, I just think that like, and yeah, I agree with Scott, who says in the chat that they were trying to find their way. And I think even Richie in interviews has said that he didn't know his direction yet. He didn't know what kind of guitar player he was or what he was trying to be. But I mean, just it's a rough listen. Like those
Yeah, and this is
fills.
one of the ones that always comes up for me in the car because the track name is like a parentheses, so it's really
Yeah.
early on. So I plug in my phone to Bluetooth and it just starts playing this song. So I've heard the exposition way more than the other part, but I would say they bring back like the Spanish matador sort of thing that they did on the previous album. Uh, it lays out the point that they're starting to become very um formulaic. Like I said, cover of an American song, cover of a Beatles song preceded by some personal composition they had. Uh, all of those, doing an instrumental, all of these things seem to, you can tell what they're going for. They're like, well, that worked last time, so let's try to do some of those things. We did a melancholy version of an upbeat Beatles song. Let's do a melancholy version of an upbeat Beatles song. Although with Help, it worked because that was kind of the subject matter of that song worked really well. For this one, it was just like, obviously there's the bummer John Lennon lyrics that are kind of more sad anyway. So they do the upbeat, and then he does like his singing on it. Rod's singing is really good, but life is very short, and there's all these dramatic like stops in the music. But yeah, this one didn't land super well with me either. The guitar fills, like you said, are really silly. The harmony vocals are really good. Yeah, and then I think the juxtaposition between, it's supposed to be the whole point of this is well, not the point of it, but the interesting part of this as a Beatles song is the fact that you've got a sappy Paul McCartney song about how everything's going to be all right, and then John Lennon comes in being a bummer, like life is very short, we're all going to die someday. So having that juxtaposition, but here it's like they take it down to like really take it down to halftime and really kind of make it a bummer. So that's my take on this one. Let's go to the listeners and see what some of them might have said about the Beatles cover. Find it here. Where the heck is it? Here we go. So we have for this one, Mark Roback says, loving Lord's organ again, but I think this one goes on a bit too long, a common theme on this album. Jasor says, huge spaghetti western vibes from the instruments, which overall is awesome. Much like the medley from the debut, though, the cover part of the song I don't really enjoy. Scott Haskin says, beautiful use of the second movement of Beethoven's Seventh Symphony, which is a personal favorite. The change is abrupt, but the build is fantastic, and I love the galloping snare. I've got a galloping bass drum upstairs. Saul Evans says, love Exposition, but they couldn't work out the Beatles cover. Victor Campos says, Exposition is my favorite Mark I intro part. I would agree. I think it's a really good instrumental. Kev Roberts, weirdly, I find this my favorite track on the album. Bold move to cover the Beatles, but I really like what they did with this. Duncan Leask, Shades. It has shades of Deep Purple here. Not in a good way. Part is okay. I used to know the classical bit it was based on, which Scott Haskin already mentioned, but part B just lets the side down. No better than a good pub band of the day. Robert Smith, the first part is fine. Not sure about the Beatles cover. Stuart McCord, a decent version, and I really like the Exposition intro, but I can't imagine ever choosing to listen to this over the original. Zwapper says part A is good, but part B is a real snoozer. Ivan says, I like Exposition, don't particularly like We Can Work It Out. Exposition has a good build-up, and I like the dramatic feel of it, kind of gallops and is rather hard-hitting. From the 47-second mark, there's a build-up that makes me think it could be the beginning of Highway Star. We Can Work It Out is okay, but the guitar solos are not good, at least not to my ears. Norman Weichelbaum says they should have saved this for Turning to Crime. Blackmore's Tights, trying to reprise the trick they did with Help, but Rod's vocals don't suit this at all. Raf Kaff says a pretty good cover of an okay Beatles song. The Gardot, Deep Purple version of 1812 Overture and a precursor to Iron Maiden Galloping. OMG, Help was better. Kev Roberts, brave to take on the Beatles cover at this stage, and they make a decent job of it. And then we have to call our friend again.
Yeah, Exposition. It was just it was just something we kind of made up on the spur of the moment. I think that I think We Can Work It Out was probably a mistake. There again, that was a time where we were really under pressure to come up with material. A lot of material, and I remember the guys saying, "Let's have a go at We Can Work It Out," and I was never a Beatles fan, really. I was probably the only one that wasn't, but it didn't do it really for me. I thought Help was great because Rod almost sort of rewrote the song, and I know Lennon and McCartney themselves said that they thought it was great, and they'd never thought of doing it in that way. But we can work it out. No, it didn't work out for me.
All right. There's a Nick's take. Nick ranked this one. Where is it? We can work it out. He ranked this one 7. This was his last.
Oh, wow.
Least favorite.
Hmm.
And then upon re-listening, he said, "Nice playing an instrumental, ambitious treatment of song, which totally failed to come off."
Hmm.
So there you go. And then for this one, we did have the one person rank it as a number 1. And then we have, what else do we have? Quite a few 7s, couple 2s. So there you have it. Okay. We ready to move on to the next one?
Yep.
All right, here we go.
Number 5.
Number 5 is the opener. Listen, learn, read on.
Mm.
All right. So, all right. So, John, what do you think about listen, learn, read on?
Well, I know that I ranked this one number 1.
Yes.
Yeah, this
You
is
and
definitely one of my
Swapper,
favorites.
the Electric Alchemist, and the Gardot also ranked this number 1.
Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, no, this one was definitely I mean, this was kind of like one of the proggiest, like kind of songs. Like this exemplified like Deep Purple trying to do what they were trying to do in the early days, being really experimental and that kind of stuff, and just doing these kind of like long proggy arrangements. And I think doing it really well because the subject matter was supposed to be about the Book of Taliesyn.
Mhm.
Um,
Mysterious Book of Taliesyn.
Yeah, Rod was doing these kind of like these spoken word type of vocals, but he was also singing. There were these cool like effects in different parts to the song, and I like that. Like I thought that was such a cool riff. And I have to say too, there was like these kind of this part in there, which was like I think it was like Rod's bass, not Rod, Nick's bass solo. He had a bass solo in there, or
Yep.
like a breakdown, which I would say like in the Deep Purple catalog, like if you think about it, you only have 2. You have that one and you have Roger in
Isn't there another one in like Flight of the Rat or something? In Rock, he does one on In Rock, I think.
does he?
I think so. But yeah, your point is well taken.
But yeah, Roger did one in on what was that one on Machine Head?
Pictures of Home.
Yeah, Pictures of Home, which controversial take, but I mean the going head to head, like I mean on whichever day you're talking about. I don't know. I mean, I thought that was a pretty good bass breakdown by Nikki there. It was really like really heavy, really cool. And I mean, I think this song was just really like heavy, kind of like ahead of its time. I thought that was a really like one of their best originals. Like it finally, like out of the gate, they came out with this kind of like really good creative type original song, which had all these different kind of parts to it. And I've just always enjoyed it too, and it was kind of upbeat. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
All right. Well, this is one of our bigger disagreements. I ranked this one number 6.
Boo, 6. That's so low.
It is low. But yeah, I don't know. I find like I like parts of the song. Like I kind of like it's kind of cheesy, but I also kind of like the, you got to turn the page, read the Book of Taliesyn, like where he's like introducing the album. I'm like, it's kind of cool. But he kind of loses me like, in the age past where spells were cast. He's doing this like spoken word stuff. That part is just a little too much for me. Like, he would have done great with I'm surprised Ritchie didn't leave at this point and form Rainbow with him then, because all the stuff he's talking about, is like all the mysticism that surrounds this song. But yeah, like, so and Pace's drums are awesome on this when he's just, like, it reminds me of Burn, is just the fact that it's almost one big long drum solo, but it's very intricate. There are like a lot of different little parts to it, and I think it's I don't know, it's a song that intrigues me, but I can't shake some of the things that I'm like feeling when I'm listening to it. So obviously the high, we got the 3 1s for this one, or the high ones, and then got a couple 7s. Yang we rated it a 7.
Oh, Rich.
Saul Evans rated it a 7. So yeah, there's a few folks that gave this one a 7. But yeah, this one had a total of, and I lost the plot here, 97 points for this one. Yeah, let's just read a few quick comments from other listeners. Who else we got? Listen, here we go. Stuart McCord says, great opener and an early example of some excellent drumming from Paice on this one. What's we got? Jasor says, weird and slightly psychedelic sounding, also has a full-on thrash beat from Paice. I never thought about listen to this in the context of it being a thrash song. I like that. Saul Evans says, the worst Purple album, the worst opener, doesn't go anywhere, and Rod doesn't pronounce Taliesyn properly. FFS. As a Welshman, that pisses me off. So there you go. So it's the Welsh book of Taliesyn is being desecrated here. Kev Roberts says, torn with this one, would be awesome as an instrumental, is the kindest thing to say. Duncan Leask says, 3 times I have been born. I learned it through meditation. Awesome. Paice is just awesome. My mate used to be a DJ at a 90s indie disco venue, and he would play this regularly. John would be there in the front row, vibing out. Robert Smith, excellent, a fine driving opener. Stuart McCord, great opener, and an early example of some excellent drumming from Paice. Oh, sorry, I read that one already. Zwapper, a hidden gem, but Ritchie's bends really suck. I don't know what it was. I think he was struggling with that guitar. Ivan says, a belt all over the place, but I like the drumming and a nice bass part. Norman Weichelbaum, nice song, but nothing spectacular. Blackmore's Tights, one of the worst openers, should be catchy, but isn't. Raf Calf, it is 60s campy, but I love it. The bass line is awesome. Gardeau, nice bass solo. Kev Roberts, groovy man. Can just see the psychedelic 8mm film footage to accompany this. A little disjointed, but interesting to hear the formative musical interplay. And then we got to just call up our buddy here, Nick, and see what he has to say about this album.
Yeah, wasn't my favourite. No, wasn't my favourite. I think it was quite frantic, wasn't it? Yeah, it was okay.
Well, there you go. Short and sweet from Mr. Simper. Upon reflecting, Nicky gives this one. What's that?
I like that he's like, yeah, it was okay. That was his review, just like laughing. It's okay.
Yeah. And you'll hear it in the interview. I totally put him on the spot. I was like, hey, we're doing an album review of Book of Taliesyn. I'm going to name the song. Tell me about it. So he was like, yeah. And there's some funnier ones later. But so what do we have here? Nicky gives this one a 5. He ranks this one 5th. And then he says, upon reflection, tight manic playing, showing how the band knitted together. Interesting lyrics. And yeah, reading the lyrics, they are very, very interesting. All right. So maybe we should take a break here and thank some patrons.
Yeah, do that.
I think it's the right thing to do. All right, where are we? All right, our next set of patrons are the core level patrons. Coming in at the $7.77 Keep It Warm Rat tier, we have Michael Vader. At the $6.99 new nice price tier, Spike the Rock Cat and Sugar Tea. At the episode $6.66 tier, we have Steve Coldwell, Arthur Smith,
Getting support from the patron Arthur Smith,
Anton Glaving and Charles Meadows. At the $6.65 Almost Evil tier, Kenny Wymore and Richie Sucksmith. At the $6 What's Going On Here tier, Richard Fusey. At the $5.99 The Nice Price tier, Robert Smith and Carl Hellberg. At the 60 Krona Scandinavian Nights tier, we have Newt Morton Johansson. At the $5 Money Lender tier, we have John Convery, German Heindel, Adrian Hernandez, Jesper Elman, Alexei the Perfect Stranger Slepikoff, Kev Roberts, Percival Frequency, Scott Zerns, Cynthia Doobie, Raf Calf, Coyote Bongwater, and John Maselli.
if you meet some kids that you wanna hang out with, you're allowed.
Forget the setup for that one.
I think it's funny if we don't know the setup.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I don't. By the time I actually get to the clips, I don't remember why he's saying what he said. All right. Oh, Mark Roback is saying on Listen, Learn, Read On, he says, I thought the spoken word stuff was being spoofed in the Spinal Tap Stonehenge scene. It's possible. It's very,
Yeah, you never know.
It does sound familiar. It does sound similar, rather, now that I think about it. Okay, that takes us to our next track up.
Number 4.
And number 4 is the song Anthem. All right, what do we think about or remember about Anthem?
You know, I got to be honest. I forget how some of these songs go. Let me see. I think I gave Anthem was like number 3, right? For me.
Yep.
Yeah, so that one was
And for me.
Okay, good. So how did that one go? I know
Anthem.
it's bad.
Let's see.
Right, yes.
As I thought could try no more.
Very
If the day could only come.
Yep. There you go. Yeah, I always get Anthem and Shield
Yeah, me too.
mixed up. I don't know why. I think it's just because it's just one word, and I just can never remember the difference between the two.
Well,
They come
I
back to
really
that.
really like that one because it was like it had this kind of ballad-esque quality that was like sounded like an outtake from Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh yeah. Oh, the bass too. Boom, boom, boom. It did sound like probably Alan Spenner or whoever was playing bass on that.
But it kind of reminded me a little bit of like Pilot's Dream.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, no. When I saw them, it all began.
Rod would have been a great pilot. I dreamed I met a Galilean. Oh,
Yeah.
here it comes.
It's and then you go into 1 dun 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 2 dun dun dun.
Exactly.
Oh, here it comes, the whip.
The whip, yeah.
Oh,
boy.
but no, this one was yeah, now that I remember the song, it is I thought it was really like this great kind of like emotional, like I said, ballad-esque type of song. And I guess maybe it's because it was really reminiscent of something from Jesus Christ Superstar. I don't know if that was a product of its time type of thing. Songs sounding the same. But I mean, either way, I really liked it. I thought it was, I think it's like a really, one of their, obviously one of their best originals after, for me, listen, learn, read on.
Yeah, and I think it as far as this one goes, it's really a showcase for Rod. You know, it really shows his
Yeah.
his ability to sing a song like this. Parts of it reminded me of like early acoustic Jethro Tull songs. The way I must be just the way Ritchie's playing. That's because he's he doesn't sound like Ian Anderson. There's no flute solo, but part of it reminds me of what we'd hear from like Gillan during the concerto. The way he sings over the music sounds very similar to that little passage in the second movement.
Yeah.
The string interlude is really nice. It's like really well done. It's produced really well. It sounds great. Again, just more kind of classical noodling that you'd hear on a lot of these songs.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was, that was really good too. I mean, you obviously, just listening back to these albums, you could tell that um the showcase was like John Lord, like he was the, like, at this time, the mouthpiece of the band, when they were doing interviews and stuff, he was the one talking. Everybody was talking about the John Lord influence, how he was taking them in a classical direction. It was almost like he was the leader of the band. He was the one dictating the direction, which is where all the classical stuff came from. And I mean, I think that a lot of it worked at this time. Like I feel like, they obviously got out of it and they did something else. I mean, they couldn't have sustained like this, but I mean, I think a lot of this stuff is enjoyable in their early work.
Yeah.
For that reason. And this also really too, it like in a odd sort of way had a kind of a Partridge Family vibe to it.
I can see that.
Yeah, just I don't know, just the way the music was, because I mean it's um if only I could see you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It was very was crying, that part right there is very kind of Partridge Family-ish type of stuff. So I mean, I think between like Jesus Christ Superstar and Partridge Family, Deep Purple, Deep Purple was formed.
Yes, they're two main influences. This one got a few ones. Runar
Oh yeah.
Simonson ranked this at number one. Kev Roberts ranked it number one. Blackmore Tights ranked at number one.
What the hell is that?
Jeff Bryce ranked at number one. The Bagford ranked at number two. So you got some, starting to see some really good high rankings. The Roback ranked at number 7.
Oh,
And
Roback.
Zwapper and Will Porter also ranked at 7th. So some detractors there, but we're starting to see
Wow.
this is, yeah. John's like, John, are you going to be able to continue?
I don't know. I think it's a really good song. I can't see how anybody would rank it last.
Well, it's very 60s sounding, and if you don't care for
Well,
that sort of thing,
yeah, yeah. I mean, I
don't know.
usually don't, but I mean, I was like I said, I was getting into this album more than I thought I would.
Yeah, I mean, it's got some, we've talked about it. The first 2 albums in particular, they're finding their way, and then they really, they really find it quickly. In my opinion, on the third album, they've almost got it locked.
Oh yeah.
It's a really rapid progression. But as far as Anthem goes, Roback, weakest track in my opinion. Roud sounds like he is channeling Elvis at times. The vocal harmonies are kind of nice. Always can listen to Lord's organ. Violin was a surprise. I like the last interlude before the vocals kick back in, but it's a very disjointed song. Jasor says, solid track, one of the few where Ritchie is just strumming along on the acoustic, which makes it a standout in my opinion. Saul Evans, enjoy this deep cut. The other good original composition, April, uses this format to good effect. Kev Roberts, Rod embracing his inner Elvis or Engelbert Humperdinck, for those that remember him. Meanders along with Ian Paice doing his best to take the song somewhere, a complete hash of ideas in one song, with none of them winning the other over until the end. It becomes so disjointed they give up. Duncan Lee says, a bit ballady, but I really like it. Forgot about the string quartet, really strong. It's Stuart McCord, listening to the album again today, I enjoyed this one a lot more than I remember doing before. A really nice ballad credited to just John and Rod. Steve Caldwell says, trim 3 minutes off this and it's a great Elvis song. Swapper says, nope, worst track on the album. What else? Ivan says, I listened to this many times. Early on, I pondered whether it would be my #1 song for the album. It's rather ambitious. I think at around 440, there is a very Blackmore-esque solo that I think is very good, but with more listens, the song fell in my regard. Good song. Norman Weichelbaum says, John's preparatory work for April and What Will Come. Blackmore Tight says, cheesy as hell, but just on the right side of awesome. This is the song that made me fall in love with Mark I. Raf Calf, I put this one second at first, but it has to cede its place to, well, I won't give it away. The Gardot, concerto-ish, boring-ish. Jeff Bryce, wonderful, beautiful song. I love John's orchestral middle 8. The song is played its entirety in the German film Requiem. That's a interesting one. We'll have to revisit sometime. All right. And then we just got to make a quick phone call. Let's see if we got Nikki here.
Anthem. Oh dear, I can't really remember much about that one. Yeah, it doesn't. That one doesn't really stick in my memory.
So there you go. There's his on-the-spot take, but upon listening to it again, he says, nice to hear good playing and good harmonies. And he ended up ranking this one. Where's his ranking for this one? Here it is. He ranked this one 6th.
Oh, Nikki.
We're going to have to call him right now. It's a little late for him.
Yeah.
He's going to be like, hey, forget what I said. Lose my number, guys. Okay. That takes us to the next track.
Number 3.
And that is Kentucky Woman. All right. John, any thoughts on Kentucky Woman?
Well, Kentucky Woman was my number 2. So I think this was one that really worked for them. I mean, I feel like they hit hit it twice on the head with first with Hush and then with this. And I never really thought of it as we had found out that and I mean not recently. I mean, I guess I found out recently, or maybe it was brought to my attention that they were trying to do this song in the style of like Mitch
Mitch Ryder.
Mitch Ryder and the
more to come on that in the interview.
Yeah. Mitch Ryder, yeah. But and I was like, okay, I get it. And I mean, honestly, I'd never heard the original. But I mean, I really like knowing that and kind of drawing that comparison and hearing like the kind of like the power behind it, the enthusiasm behind it, especially like as it comes out of the solo. You know how Hush comes out of the solo and you have that John Lord, Devil in the blue dress, yeah.
There you go.
But John Lord comes out of the solo of Hush, you know, it's da 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 da, you know.
Yeah.
And so this one, he's like, it's kind of the same thing. Is like he's just kind of laying on the organ and like and Rod is going like, yeah, and I'm going, yeah. And so it's just like it's really this really hyped up, like energetic version of the song. And I'm like, all right, I dig it. And I mean, I always kind of like the song. I always found it as like a sister song to Hush. And I think it was really successful at what it did. And like I said, I never heard the original Hush or the original Kentucky Woman, but you know, these are my versions. So
yep,
I like it a lot.
Yeah, I ranked this one number 1, which actually really surprised me.
Yeah.
quite a few ones, obviously, as we get closer to the top. But I was surprised because I never would have thought. I don't know. I just guess I didn't. I don't know. Maybe if I wrote it off because it was a cover, or it seems to me Rod is doing a very clear Neil Diamond impression, which makes sense. But I just feel like I wasn't crazy about the song, but then I'm listening to it again. I'm like, and after talking to Nick and all that and hearing his thoughts on it, I don't know, something about it that really stood out to me as it being like a really good song. They've got that little part in it where they break down into solos, and Nicky's doing the standard doom 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 doom, doing just hitting the note in the octave, and Ritchie's doing a solo over that. So it's kind of a laying down the groundwork for what a Deep Purple instrumental section is going to look like during the late 60s, early 70s. But yeah, Kentucky Woman. I liked it. I liked it a lot. So yeah, I ranked it number 1. Who else ranked it number 1? Yonghui Shaler ranked it number 1. Steve Coldwell, Ivan Fjellbu, Will Porter, and got a number 2 from the Roback, a number 2 from Zwapper, a 2 from Norman Weichelbaum, so a 2 from the Gardot. So a lot of 2s in there. Pretty highly regarded track for sure. And I don't know. Let's hear what Nikki has to say about this track, Kentucky Woman.
Yeah, that's probably my favourite on there. Yeah, that's probably the favourite.
Short and sweet. In his email, Nick says, great single, exciting playing, brilliant guitar solo, just a good slice of pure rock and roll. And then he ranks this one number 1. So there you go.
Nice.
We should have given him his should have counted for more points, being that he played on this album. But
yeah, but
yeah, we all get 1 point, and Nick gets my father-in-law always has like crazy facial hair going on just to annoy his wife and daughters, and it's my wife and her 2 sisters and their mother, so it's 4 of them, and he says they each have 1 vote on how he does his facial hair, and he has 5 votes. Okay, Kentucky Woman. Did I wait? Actually, I don't. Did I read everybody else's stuff on Kentucky Woman?
No,
I did not. Oh, well, Kentucky Woman. Yonghui Shaler says the throbbing bass that drives Kentucky Woman makes it for me. Also, the way RB's solos come in, one of his best early succinct solos. Anthem. He says Anthem. I forgot how much I like that. It has a little Jesus Christ Superstar vibe to it. I missed that part. It was in the wrong song. Just echoing your comments on Jesus Christ Superstar. Roback says a solid cover of a good song. Saul Evans, not a huge fan of the cover songs, but the dearth of quality on the original song elevates the cover song. Decent cover. Kev Roberts, obviously they were hoping this was going to be a repeat of the success of Hush. Not to be, of course, but I love the energy in the song. Rod sounds very JLT on this one. Oh. Okay. I have to listen to it again with that in mind. Pretty true to the Neil Diamond original, writes Duncan Leask. Possibly better. Robert Smith, yikes, late 60s pop, which isn't for me. Stuart McCord, probably my favorite of the covers. Nice and rocking with a great keyboard solo from John. Zwapper says a real smoking rocker. Rod really shines here. Ivan Fjellbu, I like this one. Good driving rhythm. Rod breaks out of his crooner style for a couple of times and almost belts. He's almost turned into Merms. The way they re-enter into the song's main melody after the organ solo about 3:30 into the song is because of the coordinated organ guitar playing. Pretty classic Deep Purple. Norman Weichelbaum, love it because it's weird to hear him rock with a Neil Diamond song. See, if they had kept going on with this formula, we could have had them do Forever in Blue Jeans on an album. Forever in Blue Jeans. Ha! Used to be one of my favorites, writes Blackmore Tights. Nice catchy song. Not ages too well, but still fun. Raf Calf, last place or second to last. I don't love the falsetto group vocal, but this song pops up in my head a lot. The Gardeau, great job covering the capitalist pig / snitch. Oh, wait, that's Neil Sedaka. Will Porter, it's so hard to rank most tracks on this album as it's where you really start to hear the different directions the individual members were pulling in. Ritchie pushing the free-form progressiveness of his solos and John's classical leanings starting to sound at odds with Nicky's very 60s beat group bass lines and Rod's crooner stylings. Having said that, I love the joy in this song where they all seem to be actually pulling in the same direction with real gusto. And then Nick Simper, upon further reflection, says, great single, exciting playing, brilliant guitar solo, just a good slice of pure rock and roll. And yeah, he says more about Ritchie's playing on our interview, which you'll have to listen to in a few days to hear what he says. All right. So here we are. We've only got 2 songs left. And let's go to number 2.
Number 2.
And number 2 is Shield. My goodness, who would have thought Shield would have ended up this high? Unbelievable. So Shield, you and I both ranked it around the about the same, which is middle of the road. I gave it a 4 and you gave it a 5. So we are not carrying the weight of that one in, but
yeah, no, not at all.
This one gets a 1 from Michael Bagford, a 1 from Victor Campos, a 1 from Stuart McCord, a 1 from Raf Calf, bunch of 2s, only 1 7 from Norman Weichelbaum. But yeah, what do you think of Shield?
It wasn't bad. I mean, I actually thought it was, one of their better originals. I feel like that and We Can Work It Out could have been like kind of switched given the day, because that would have come after Anthem if I had ranked it that way. Because I mean, I thought it was a pretty decent original. It again, it had like Nikki driving it with that just this kind of quiet bass line and this boom 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 boom, and it just had this really interesting quality to it. But yeah, I don't know, I guess it was just kind of middle of the road for me. I guess I don't have anything bad to say about it, because I mean it had really the kind of like the same thing that the rest of the album had. Is just kind of this melodic, kind of psychedelic kind of chorus and kind of feel to the whole song. I can't really put my finger on it. It's like I feel like it's not like anything I ever heard. But I definitely think that one of the things, especially like, early Deep Purple is like, Nikki had this really plucky kind of bass sound, and this was really excuse me, prominent in this song, because you had
Yep.
and they and it was actually one of Ritchie's better melodies on the album. I will give him that.
And he does those like guitar swells that it sounds like they're swells anyway. It's a very unsettling song for me. And I don't mean that in a bad way. But it's
that's a
just
good way
like
of saying it. Yeah.
It's creepy sounding. Like there's something about it like that. You boom bang 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 bang. And just and that bass, everything about it is very. It just makes me feel uneasy.
Yeah, I think unsettling is a good kind of
yeah. Raf
word
Calf says haunting.
adjective
That's
for
another
it, yeah.
good way to describe
Yeah,
it.
that's a good way to describe it. There's like, you can't really put your finger on it, but yeah, that melody in there is very unsettling, haunting. Yeah.
Yeah. I just do have to go back to my Forever in Blue Jeans comment. Peter Gardeau says his wife calls it Reverend Blue Jeans. I just had to mention that. Yeah, it's yeah, I would say it's the doubled guitar. Like they're doing this. I don't know what the intervals are that he's playing on the harmonies, but it's again, it adds to that weird thing. The ending is like this cacophonous, like sort of mess. Sounds like things falling over, and John comes in with this like percussive organ part that almost sounds like you're playing like a high
Yeah.
pitched bongo or something, and then a
I
bunch
thought it
more
was,
percussion joins in.
yeah, I thought it was percussion at first, but I'm like, oh, that's John Lord with his like,
Yep. Yeah, it's a very, very weird song, but cool. All right, let's give our good friend Nicky a call and see what he's has to say about Shield.
Yeah, Shield. Yeah, that wasn't bad. I feel. Yeah, that was yeah, that had some. Yeah, that was different. Yeah, it was a quite unusual song. I think we never ever did it on stage. I remember, but thinking back, I think it worked quite well. It had quite a nice bass sound on it, and the guitar harmonies. Yeah, quite clever lyrics as well. Yeah, Rod was very good with lyrics. Yeah, that was pretty good.
All right, so that's what he says. Upon further reflection, Nicky ranks this one, Shield. He gives it number 3 on the album. And his final answer for it says, unusual song, great lyrics from Rod, good bass sound, and nice playing from the whole group. Which leaves us coming up to the number 1 song, which if you're keeping track at home, you should have probably pretty easily figured out. And we'll get to it right now.
Number 1.
All right, and that's Ring That Neck. Sorry, I was like waiting for it to announce itself.
okay.
All right, Ring That Neck is number 1. Looking at our rankings here, where are we? I ranked this. I kind of thought I was going to give this one number 1, but I gave it number 2. And John, you put it at number 6.
Yep. Nope.
Nope.
No, I honestly thought that I would like, I thought I had better memories of it. I liked it better, but
Is
I
it
did
just
not.
this? Do you like the song in general? Is it just this version of the song, or?
No, I guess I don't know. Maybe I thought it was something else, but I was like listening to it and I'm like, no, there's nothing I really like in it. I mean, this really relied heavily on Ritchie soloing, so yeah, bad.
John's holding no punches with Ritchie's soloing
I
on the
can't.
song.
I mean, I want to like Ring That Neck better. And I mean, it's just like maybe there were, I mean, you could probably prove me wrong. Maybe there were live versions in the or bootlegs or something that we heard in the past that were like really good. But this one is just like I didn't find really remarkable in any kind of way. I mean, I think that, like I said, I mean, I'm not pulling any punches because I think that Ritchie's soloing was horrendous on this album.
All right. Michael Bagford says, I gave Ring That Neck a ranking of 4 because I'm American and that title scares me. It should have been called Hard Road. Harkening back to what episode number 7 or 8 or whenever we reviewed this album originally, where the American version had to call it Hard Road because too many Americans were going to have to collapse under their fainting couch after they heard the song Ring That Neck.
Fainting couch.
Unbelievable. It's a freaking instrumental too. It doesn't even have any lyrics. It's like about it's not even talking about wringing a neck. But anyway, we got, this was the number 1 song. So we got a bunch of people in a row giving it a number 1. Arthur Smith, Mark Roback, Jasor, Scott Paskin, Better Call Saul Evans, Robert Smith, Norman Weichelbaum, Kev Roberts, and a bunch of number 2s. John gave it a 6. Steve Coldwell gave it a 6.
Yeah, Steve.
Jeff Bryce gave it a 6.
Yeah, Jeff.
and the Gardot gave it a number 7.
Gardot, yes, we all got
Put
it
it
right.
He put it in for him, behind Anthem, so there you go.
Yeah,
But, yeah, for this one, I feel like it sets the tone for those for those 30-minute versions of the song that are gonna happen on stage with Mark 1 and into Mark 2. Um, it gets a lot of those, what I call those near miss bends where it's just like, you're just not quite getting there. Near the end of the song, I thought it was interesting, like, the organ started sounding like horns to me. It's and the drum hits are kinda sound like almost like timpani. It had this real, I don't know if they were doing that on purpose, but it had this real, um, uh, orchestral sound to it without really going there. And then, that's the interludes with Ritchie was, yeah, like that where he's going, "Dun, dun, 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 dun,
oh,
dun."
oh God, that was like brutal, brutal. Like, ugh. And it's like, oh no, stop it. Just cut it out. It's awful. It was awful.
Yeah, it's only a few months later that they're doing the next album. I don't know what happened.
Me neither. It was like he came to Jesus or something. But I mean, it's like I mean, these albums are not a great representation of the musician they became because we obviously know I love Ritchie. Like, I
I
mean,
think they're not a good representation of the musician he was. I have to think, in hearing
yeah.
him play live around this time and all that sort of stuff, there was just something about the studio environment, the speed with which they were recording, whatever it was, that just wasn't working. But that seems to have been cleared up in the next album. I can't imagine he got that much better on that, because all this stuff, it's really mostly his bends that are the issue. The other stuff he's doing isn't crazy. But anyway, that's the kind of rankings for that. On Ring That Neck, we've got Mark Roback says Love Lord's Organ, which is really great about these early albums. Kind of cool in production with the guitar panning to the right to left, but I do find the guitar tone to be a bit annoying. Yeah, I think the tone too had played into it a bit. Jasora says a classic instrumental jam, definitely my favorite on the album. Scott Haskins says great shuffle. I especially love the way the song comes back from the stops at 3:36 using a hanging beat instead of a hanging note, and then again at 4:14 from the guitar solo. Great track and easily the best song on the album, writes Saul Evans. Kev Roberts, the track that showcases all that's to come. John leads the way, but it's here that Ritchie starts to get grips with where he wants to go. Duncan Leask, I love what it became live. Great vehicle for Blackmore Lord. Robert Smith, great, possibly my favorite instrumental. Stuart McCord, fantastic instrumental, and it's hard for me to pick between this or The Shield as my favorite on the album, though I do tend to prefer the live version of this. Swapper says, great. Ivan says, bluesy, maybe some of Blackmore's best soloing so far. Norman Weichelbaum says, the first real DP classic after Hush. Perfect rollout for the legendary Hammond guitar battles. Blackmore Tights says, suffers from overplaying, heard it way too many times. Have to really be in the mood for it. Raf Calf, changed my vote and bumped it up to number 2. This is the song that defines Mark 1 for me. The Gardot says, zzz, sounds like a high school talent show band. Quite a difference of opinions on this one.
Yeah, really.
Jeff Bryce says, live, this is my favorite Deep Purple song. Here, it's a little tame. Kev Roberts, already said Kev Roberts. And then we just have to, man, we're going to be really bothering Nikki with all these calls. Let's see if hopefully, you'd think he'd pick up on the first ring after all these calls.
Yeah, that was one of my favourites. It always went down well on the road, and I always like to do a decent instrumental. I played that quite a lot with the Nasty Habits, and people seem to like it. Yeah, that was a pretty good one.
All right, there you go. And upon further analysis, Simper says, kick-ass playing throughout, tight rhythm section, slightly indulgent, but it always ripped up the audience. So there you go. And he ranked this number 2, I think. Yeah, he ranked this one number 2. So there you go. That's all the songs on this album. Quite a wide range of songs, and that takes us to our final, before we have a little wrap up here discussion about the album, it takes us to our final bit of thanking our amazing patrons. And our next level is the foundation level. Coming in at the $3.50 Deep Purple New York tier, we have Lord Longford. At the £3 aromatic feed tier, Simon Ford and Richard Brees. At the $3.33 halfway to evil tier, Stephen Sharp and Duncan Leask. At the $3 Nobody's Perfect tier, we have Peter Gardeau. Ian de Rosier. Mark Roback. Stuart McCord. Ivan Fieldboo. Runar Simonson. JJ Stenard, Ruinous Inadequacies, Michael Boyette, Corey Morissette of And the Podcast Will Rock, among other podcasts. Then we have Ashley. At the $1.71 I Want My Own tier, we have
Rich, Young, Shaylor. Who the hell is that?
At the 10 kroner tier, Karsten Lau. And at the $1 made-up name tier, we have the Ring That Grave, Leaky Mausoleum, Stephen Somerville, the Concerto 1999 fanatic, Hank the Tank, Private Eyes, Ashen Lionel,
Blackmore tights.
Steve Down to Earth Kohler, Zwapper the Electric Alchemist, Andres Engstrom, ICDC, Durple Purple, and Purple Swede.
Sweet.
Thank you so much to all of you for your generous support of the Deep Purple podcast. And thank you to all of our amazing patrons who stuck it out on the live stream tonight on our second album rankings episode, which went much smoother than the previous one. And we got Nikki to participate. So how do you beat that?
You don't?
You don't. You simply don't. Unless we got Rod to participate in the next episode.
It's the only way you beat it.
I think Nikki would fully admit that was definitely a one-umpsmanship as we pulled him out of seclusion after 44 years.
Hey, well, as far as I know, like I know that I've read things. It's like I want to say maybe as far back as 2015. Like I think who was it? Was it somebody? Oh shit! I recently read something where it was like 2015. It might have been. It wasn't Nick Simper. Maybe it was like Ian Paice, or somebody had said that they had spoken to him or they knew of his whereabouts.
Yeah.
And like I would just love to find, like, get in touch with that person, be like, hey, do you still even talk to him sometimes? Like,
yeah. I would be willing to bet. Well, you can see what Nick says when you hear our interview, but I have a feeling that some people, well, obviously somebody has to know who he is, but I think they're probably just respecting his wishes and keeping it a secret.
Oh, yeah, of course.
It'd be great if Ian Pace goes over, like, a few times a year for dinner and the family's going. He just won't sell them out,
Which, I mean, I get that, but I don't know. It's still the Holy Grail.
Yeah, I know. How many episodes have we ended on the note of being like, man, if we could just talk to Nikki? A lot.
Quite a few, yeah.
Well, I guess we'll just put it out there. Maybe he wants to know how people think about Book of Taliesyn. Maybe he's big into podcasts. Who knows? Maybe he's listening to every episode. I don't know. I don't know what his deal is. But hey, if you're out there, we'd love to. even if you want to keep it secret, if you want to like, what did they used to do in Batman? Didn't they like blindfold people or hit them with the bat spray so they were unconscious, and if they took them back to the bat cave,
Yeah.
so they wouldn't know how to get there? You can do the same thing to us. Just club us over the head.
Yeah. Do an interview and then dump us in a
Blindfold
field.
us, set us free in the wilderness somewhere.
We'll be fine.
Or if we have to put like our cell phones in like one of those like top secret case, like if you're going to do like a top secret meeting at the White House, you have to put it in like a case where it can't get any signal. Oh yeah, Raf Calf. If we do get that interview, we'll be like, oh, here it comes.
Oh, here he comes.
Maybe.
Hey.
And Bagford is who said Mark Roback said send Rod some DoorDash and see if he responds. And then the Bagford said he might be more of an Uber Eats guy. I'll send him whatever he wants.
Well, I mean, if we knew where to send that shit, then we would not be sending him Uber Eats. We'd be asking him for an interview.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be Uber interview.
Yeah, Uber. You can send some clown over there to interview him.
Interview dash. Hey, how you doing?
That would be very disappointing. Yeah, well, that's it, folks. Another album ranked. Our next one up will obviously be the third self-titled album. Very much looking forward to that one. Hearing everybody's thoughts on that one, but yeah, that's what we got. Anything else before we wrap up?
No, this is I think that this even though it was like a few months later, they were rushed in again. They were given more time. The album definitely has a better sound to it. Though still dated to the 60s, definitely a better sound, definitely some better songwriting.
Yep.
In places. Overall, not perfect, not the Deep Purple self-titled album, but I think you could see the albums are getting progressively better. So yeah, this was actually a pretty decent listen for me overall. I was like surprised at how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah, agreed. And the more we listen to these Mark I albums, the more we enjoy it. So yeah, I guess with that, we'll end on that note, folks. If you're interested in our Nick Simper interview, check us out in a few days. It'll be in the feed as a bonus episode and a nice follow-up to this one. If you want to hear the clips you already heard, but a lot more about various subjects. What did we talk about? We talked about Warhorse. We talked about Mark I. We talked about Rod. We talked about
the Nasty Habits.
Yeah, I really got into that, and sure I'm leaving a lot of stuff out. Johnny Kid and the Pirates, Ritchie, his feelings on Ritchie and Ritchie's playing, and
just wait and you'll hear it.
Just wait. You'll have to wait. All right. Well, thank you for all of our wonderful patrons in the live stream, and thank you, John, and we will talk to you next week.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Deep Purple Podcast. If you like what you hear and would like more episodes in the future, please donate on Patreon to support the show. You can also leave us a review in Apple Podcasts to help new people discover the show. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for show updates. See deeppurplepodcast.com for more details. Thank you for listening.